The day the river turned purple. Once upon a time, in the heart of a lush green forest, a young squirrel named Nibbs scurried along the treetops, his fluffy tail twitching with excitement. Nibbs had always been the most curious creature in the forest, never content to stay in one place for too long. Every day, he explored new corners of the woods, searching for hidden secrets and forgotten wonders. But nothing he had ever seen prepared him for what he would discover that morning. As Nibbs reached the edge of a tall oak, he looked down at the river below and gasped. The river, which was usually a sparkling shade of blue, was now a deep, mesmerizing purple. The color shimmered under the morning sun, casting violet reflections onto the trees and rocks around it. What in the world? Nibbs muttered to himself, his tiny paws gripping the branch tightly. This has never happened before. He watched as a small leaf floated down the current, its edges tinged with a soft lavender hue as it touched the water. His heart pounded with excitement. Something was making the river change colors, and he was determined to find out what. Without hesitation, Nibbs leapt from the oak tree onto another branch, then another, until he reached the ground. He bounded over rocks and weaved through bushes, following the flow of the purple river upstream. As he ran, his mind raced with questions. "Maybe it's magic," he thought aloud. "Or maybe a giant purple fish is swimming beneath the surface. Or, oh, maybe the sky spilled its colors into the water." His thoughts were interrupted when he nearly collided with a family of rabbits nibbling on wildflowers near the riverbank. "Whoa there, Nibbs," said Thistle, the eldest rabbit, stepping back in surprise. "Where are you off to in such a hurry?" "The river. Look at it," Nibbs exclaimed, pointing at the flowing purple water. "Have you ever seen anything like this?" Thistle twitched his nose and peered at the river. "Huh, that's strange, but I'm sure there's an explanation." "I'm going to find it," Nibbs declared. "Want to come with me?" Thistle shook his head. "I'd rather stay here with my brothers, but if you do find out, come back and tell us." Nibbs nodded eagerly and continued his journey, following the river's winding path deeper into the forest. He passed a family of deer drinking from the water, their reflections glowing purple. He even saw a group of butterflies fluttering over the surface, their wings catching the unusual color. Finally, after what felt like forever, Nibbs arrived at a clearing where the river began. At its center stood a magnificent tree unlike any other in the forest. Its branches stretched wide, and its dark purple berries glowed faintly in the sunlight. Just as Nibbs reached the base of the tree, a gust of wind rustled the branches, and several berries dropped from the tree and plopped into the river below. Nibbs gasped as the water beneath them immediately darkened, rippling out in waves of deep purple. "So this is what's causing it," he whispered in awe. As he examined the tree, he heard a soft hoot from above. Looking up, he spotted an old owl perched on one of the branches, watching him with keen golden eyes. "You've discovered the secret of the enchanted berry tree," the owl said in a wise, steady voice. Nibbs's ears perked up. "Enchanted?" The owl nodded. "This tree has stood here for many, many years. Its berries have always carried a special magic, turning the river purple whenever they fall into the water." Nibbs's eyes widened. "That's amazing. Does it happen all the time?" "Only when the tree is strong and healthy," the owl replied. "But look closely, young squirrel. The tree is not as it once was." Nibbs glanced at the tree again, noticing for the first time that some of its leaves were drooping. The bark had cracks running along its surface, and there were fewer berries than he had expected. A feeling of unease settled in his chest. "What's happening to it?" he asked. The owl sighed. "That is something we must find out before it's too late." Nibbs felt a determination rise in him. If this tree was the reason for the river's magic, then it was too special to be ignored. He needed to tell the other animals. Maybe together they could find a way to help. With one last look at the tree, Nibbs turned and raced back towards the forest. His mind was set. This was only the beginning of an adventure that would change the forest forever. Nibbs raced through the forest, his heart pounding with urgency. The discovery of the enchanted berry tree had filled him with excitement, but the sight of its withering leaves left him uneasy. He needed to tell the other animals. Maybe together, they could find a way to help before it was too late. As he reached a familiar clearing, he spotted a group of animals gathered near a fallen log. Among them were Thistle the rabbit, Hazel the deer, and a wise old owl named Orla, who had just finished telling a group of young sparrows a story. "Nibbs, you're back!" Thistle called out, his ears twitching. "Did you find out what's causing the river to turn purple?" Nibbs skidded to a stop, his tail fluffed up with excitement. "Yes! It's an enchanted berry tree! It grows at the source of the river, and every time its berries drop into the water, the river turns purple. But there's a problem. The tree is wilting." A murmur of concern rippled through the group. Hazel, the gentle deer, stepped forward. "Wilting? That's not good. A tree that old and magical must be strong to survive." Orla, the owl, blinked thoughtfully. "An enchanted tree is not like an ordinary one. If it's losing its strength, there must be a reason." "We need to go see it," Nibbs insisted. "Maybe we can help." The animals exchanged glances before nodding in agreement. One by one, they followed Nibbs toward the river, their paws and hooves padding softly against the earth. As they walked, the forest became quieter, as if it too was listening to their discovery. When they finally reached the clearing where the tree stood, the animals gasped. In the soft afternoon light, they could see the signs of distress more clearly. The bark had lost its rich color, the leaves drooped, and there were far fewer berries than Nibbs had first noticed. Hazel stepped forward, gently pressing her nose against the tree's trunk. "It feels dry, almost like it isn't getting enough water." "But how can that be?" Thistle asked. "The river flows right next to it." Orla flapped her wings and perched on a low branch, surveying the area with her keen eyes. "Something is preventing the tree from taking in the water it needs," she said. "We must find out what." Nibbs scurried to the river's edge, dipping his paws into the cool water. It still shimmered purple, but now he noticed something strange. The water level seemed lower than before. "That's odd," he murmured. "The river doesn't usually get this low." Just then, a rustling noise came from beyond the trees. The animals turned their heads as a small group of beavers waddled into the clearing, their thick fur still damp from working in the water. "Oh, it's the beavers," Hazel said softly. "Maybe they've seen something unusual." Nibbs hopped forward. "Excuse me, have you noticed anything strange about the river?" A large beaver named Reed tilted his head. "Strange? Not really. We've been busy building our new dam downstream." Orla's eyes narrowed. "A new dam?" Reed nodded proudly. "Yes! We needed more shelter for the winter, so we built a bigger dam than usual. It's the strongest one we've ever made." Nibbs's ears perked up as a realization hit him. "Wait, if your dam is bigger, could it be stopping too much water from reaching the tree?" The beavers exchanged glances. A younger beaver, Willow looked uncertain. Well, I suppose it could be affecting the flow. Hazel stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. The enchanted berry tree is in danger. It's not getting the water it needs, and if it dies, the river might never turn purple again. Reed frowned. We didn't mean to harm the tree, he said slowly. But we do need our dam for protection. Orla nodded. Of course, every creature in the forest has needs, but perhaps we can find a way for both the tree and the beavers to thrive. Nibbs felt determination rise within him. Then let's work together to find a solution before it's too late. The animals all agreed. If they could find a way to balance the beaver's home and the tree's survival, they could save the magic of the river and their forest home. Nibbs stood at the edge of the river, his small paws clenched with determination. The enchanted berry tree was in trouble, and now they knew why. The beaver's massive new dam was blocking too much water from flowing downstream. Without enough water, the tree couldn't survive, and if the tree died, the river would never turn purple again. We have to fix this, Nibbs said firmly, turning to the others. The beavers need their dam, but the tree needs water. There has to be a way to help both. Reed, the leader of the beavers, frowned. We worked hard on that dam, he said. It keeps our families safe. We can't just tear it down. Nibbs understood their concerns, but he wasn't ready to give up. No one is saying we should destroy it, he said, but maybe there's a way to let more water through and keep your home safe. The animals murmured in agreement. Hazel, the deer, stepped closer to the beavers. The forest belongs to all of us, she said gently. If the tree dies, the magic of the river will be lost forever. That would be a great loss, not just for us, but for future generations. Orla, the wise old owl, nodded. The balance of nature is delicate. When one part of the forest suffers, we all suffer. Reed's ears drooped slightly. I suppose we don't want the tree to die either, he admitted. But what can we do? The dam is already built. Nibbs's tail twitched as he thought hard. Then, an idea sparked in his mind. What if we adjust the dam instead of destroying it? He suggested. Maybe we could create small openings to let more water flow downstream while keeping the dam strong enough for your homes. The beavers looked at one another, considering the idea. Finally, Willow, the younger beaver, spoke up. That might work, but we'd need help to make the changes quickly. We'll all help, Thistle, the rabbit, piped up. If we work together, we can fix this before it's too late. Reed sighed, then gave a slow nod. All right, let's try it. With their plan set, the animals hurried toward the beaver's dam. When they arrived, Nibbs was amazed by its size. The wall of branches and logs stretched across the river, creating a deep pool of water behind it. The dam was sturdy, expertly built, but it was also clear that almost no water was making it past. The tree is suffering because of this, Hazel murmured. We need to act fast. The beavers got to work right away, gnawing through certain sections of the dam to create small channels for water to flow through. Meanwhile, the other animals helped carry sticks and mud to reinforce the structure so it wouldn't collapse. Nibbs and Thistle used their nimble paws to adjust smaller twigs, making sure the water flowed just right. Orla flew above, directing them where needed. Even Hazel used her strong legs to push loose debris out of the way. As they worked, the sun began to set, casting golden light over the river. The animals didn't stop, knowing time was running out for the enchanted berry tree. Finally, After hours of effort, the first stream of water trickled through the newly opened channels. At first, it was just a small flow. But then, as more sections were adjusted, the water rushed past in steady streams. Nibbs held his breath as he watched the river carry the fresh water downstream toward the enchanted tree. "It's working!" he cheered. The animals rushed back to the clearing to see the results. As the water reached the tree's roots, something incredible happened. The wilting leaves began to lift, their green color deepening. The bark, once cracked and dry, looked stronger. And then, plop, a berry dropped into the river. The water shimmered, deepening into its signature purple hue. A wave of relief washed over the group. The tree was healing. The river was turning purple again. "We did it!" Hazel said, her voice filled with joy. Reed watched the flowing river with a satisfied nod. "And our dam is still standing," he added. "I guess we found a way to share the river after all." Orla smiled. "This is the power of working together." Nibbs beamed with pride. He had set out to solve a mystery and ended up helping save something truly magical. But their journey wasn't over yet. The tree was still recovering, and they would need to watch over it in the days to come. As the forest settled into the quiet hum of the evening, the animals knew they had done something important, not just for themselves, but for the future of the forest. The next morning, Nibbs awoke to the soft rustling of leaves and the gentle murmur of the river. He stretched and blinked sleepily before remembering the tree. He scurried out of his nest and raced toward the riverbank, eager to see if their hard work had paid off. As he reached the clearing, his heart swelled with joy. The enchanted berry tree stood tall and strong once more. Its leaves, once drooping, were now full and vibrant, shimmering under the golden sunlight. The bark looked healthier, and most importantly, plump. Purple berries hung from its branches, ready to drop into the river. Plop! Nibbs watched as a berry fell into the water, and instantly, a deep purple hue spread through the river like a ribbon of magic. He grinned. The river was alive again. A rustling behind him signaled the arrival of his friends. Hazel, Orla, Thistle, and the beavers stepped into the clearing, their eyes widening at the sight before them. "We did it," Hazel whispered, her voice filled with awe. "The tree looks better than ever," Thistle said, bouncing excitedly. Reed, the beaver, stepped forward and studied the river. "And our dam is holding strong," he added. "Looks like we found the perfect balance." Orla, perched on a low branch, let out a soft hoot. Nature is always at its best when creatures work together rather than against each other. Nibbs felt warmth spread through him. He had started this journey full of questions, and now he stood here, knowing they had saved something truly special. Suddenly, the tree rustled, as if acknowledging their efforts. Then, in a breathtaking moment, the branches shimmered with light, and a soft, whispering breeze carried a message through the air. "Thank you!" The animals gasped. Had the tree spoken? Nibbs placed a paw gently on the trunk. He couldn't hear words exactly, but he felt the gratitude, the deep appreciation from something ancient and magical. "It's happy," he murmured, "and so am I." That night, the animals gathered by the riverbank to celebrate. The beavers brought fresh twigs to nibble on. Hazel shared sweet berries from a nearby bush, and Nibbs and Thistle entertained everyone with playful races. Even Orla, usually quiet and reserved, told a story about the magic of the forest and how working together had always been the key to harmony. As they sat together, the purple river reflected the moonlight, casting a dreamy glow across the clearing. It was a sight none of them would ever forget. Nibbs turned to Hazel. "Do you think the river will always turn purple now?" Hazel smiled. "As long as we take care of the tree and the river, I believe the magic will remain," Reed nodded. "And we'll make sure our dam never stops the water again." Orla spread her wings. This was a lesson for all of us. The forest thrives when its creatures work together. No one can survive alone. Not the tree, not the river, not any of us. Nibbs felt a sense of peace settle over him. He had discovered the mystery of the Purple River, but more importantly, he had learned the value of teamwork, respect for nature, and the magic that came from unity. As the celebration continued, he looked up at the tree one last time and smiled. The river's gift wasn't just its beautiful purple color, it was the lesson it had taught them all. And from that day on, whenever a berry dropped into the water, the animals would pause, watch the river turn purple, and remember the day they had saved something truly magical. Moral of the story: when we work together, respect nature, and help one another, we create harmony. And even the smallest efforts can protect the greatest magic.